With Hisako still the prisoner of the Cult of X, it will be up to her friends to save her. That is, of course, if they can ever unravel the mystery regarding her disappearance. Well, let's hop into the pages of Ultimate X-Men issue number 14 and find out what happens next together, shall we? So then, as we rejoin the story in progress, the Maester is still doing all sorts of mysterious experiments on the comatose Shadow King and Armor. Viper, his boss, makes it abundantly clear that his own survival is deeply tied to the success of this brand new project, and should he fail, there's a good chance they might end up finding him floating in a suitcase down by the bay. Furthermore, Viper makes reference to something called My X, as well as an egg, which I'm not 100% certain if that is some sort of elaborate code or if she is literally talking about stealing genetic material from Hisako and using it to grow a brand new mutant. Now, what we do learn this issue is that otherworldly shadow realm that Kageyama had created and seemingly trapped Hisako's mind, and yeah, this place has a name. It's actually called the Astral Plane, which makes a lot of sense given the Shadow King's history in mainline X-Men stories. In fact, I'm pretty sure the first time I ever heard the term Astral Plane used was in one of the Shadow King episodes of the X-Men animated series. Now, Kageyama continues to assault Hisako's mind with visions of her friends, but also enemies. In this case, it's Surge wearing what is undoubtedly a costume. It's basically just a more flamboyant version of the schoolgirl costume she already wears, but with some insectoid-looking antennas on top of her head to help her regulate all that electricity. Now, even though this is assumedly Hisako's vision, Surge ends up completely ignoring her to have a second fight with Maystorm. In fact, in a nice bit of continuity, Surge mentions that the last time she met Maystorm, her powers had rebounded on her, causing serious wounds. In fact, we never actually saw Surge after that, which makes me beg a ton of questions. How does Hisako know all of that if she wasn't there for it? That is, of course, assuming we are in Hisako's mind, or maybe this is just Hisako and Kageyama on the astral plane. I mean, they're here for sure, but the other characters are just projections, right? Which, because that is the case, I actually do have a hard time getting invested in this fight. Even though it is, make no mistake, still really damn cool. Again, much like the issue that preceded it, this one goes out of its way to really try and capture that whole classic manga art style with very limited colors, though there's actually probably more colors in this issue than there was in the last one. Surge is defeated, and after that, the book ends up taking a very odd turn as we see yet another Spectre take the field. This time, it's Tsubasa, who, interestingly enough, doesn't look like how the other characters are drawn. In fact, he looks like how mangaka sometimes draw themselves in their own works, which begs the question, wait, is it Tsubasa who's actually projecting all of this right now? Which actually he might be, because after that, we see the story of how Hisako ended up finding her armor charm, only this time we seem to see it from Tsubasa's point of view. Once again, it was a gift to her. Maybe a friendly gesture, maybe a romantic gesture, that's still open for interpretation. What we learned this time, though, is that Hisako had actually lost the charm. Again, it's pretty open for interpretation. Did she earnestly lose the charm, and was she upset about it, or did she just lose it on purpose as to not hurt Tsubasa's feelings? After that, the scene plays out exactly as Kageyama said it did. He found the charm and tried to give it back to Hisako, only for her to rebuke the charm and really end up hurting her friend Tsubasa's feelings. Though it looks like Armor is finally coming around to the gravity of the choice she made that day, as she ends up falling to the ground so sick. She ends up barfing up an even bigger version of the charm, followed by more Shadow King darkness. Now, it's after that we leave the astral plane and check back on in with Maystorm. It seems that her little mutant revolution front has grown by leaps and bounds since we last saw her. She's still challenging the Cult of X, and in fact her new group has actually carved out an entire neighborhood for themselves called, get this, District X. Ah yes, like Mutant Town from the old Grant Morrison stories. I see what you're doing here. Maystorm is actually so damn busy being this big mutant action leader, she doesn't even seem to notice that Hisako has been gone. That's where Nico comes in, telling May that she'd been reading more of her mysterious grandmother's old books, and in doing so discovered references to the astral plane all on her own. In fact, they theorized that strange dark eye they saw in the sky during the festival is probably a gateway into the astral realm. It looks like a rescue mission is in the cards, but that's not all, because as the comic comes to a close, we actually check back on Kwanon's brother, who, while enjoying himself in a cafe, ends up being met by another mysterious young woman who can only really be described as having rogue hair. And believe it or not, it's on that note right there the comic comes to a close, everybody, and so that was Ultimate X-Men issue number 14, and while I'm certainly enjoying what the book is doing still, man, they really are wearing those anime manga references on their sleeves, right down to having a couple filler stories in a row. A shame too, because I thought this series was so well paced in the very beginning, with every issue giving us a new clue about Tsubasa's death or some new piece of lore to chew on about how mutants exist in this new Ultimate Universe. Here it seems we're so close to getting some actual real concrete answers involving the whole murder mystery that has propelled this series forward from day one, and because we have a better understanding of how mutants work thanks to the Wolverine book, it honestly feels that much more annoying that the story is kind of spinning its wheels right now with this whole astral plane storyline that, while indeed looks visually awesome, is just kind of reiterating stuff we already knew about characters. Again, I'm waiting for the shoe to drop, and I hope it does. But I'd also be lying if I said I didn't enjoy this issue probably less than any other issue in the series so far, which is why I can really only give it a 7 out of 10. Here's hoping issue 15 bounces back in a major way and we can get this show back on the road. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest, that's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.